What's it going to be today? Normal, all road, sport, or maybe even rally mode? What are we going to do? Am I at the choices? Well, hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today, man, have we got a great video for you. If things look a little bit different, I just finished having coffee with my buddy Ken. I'm thinking about adding some episodes with him and I, our coffee chats. We get into some pretty interesting banter, I'll say that. It's a cool looking little thing. I don't know if that's one of those little new Mahindras or if that's an old Jeep. I think it's a Mahindra. Those are cool. Yep, that's what it is. But today we are going to be talking about rider modes, all of the rider modes on here, and not just, sport mode feels sportier. We're not going to do that. We're going to talk about the areas. Let's look at this little guy here. Check it out. Isn't that cool? That is so cool. One of the things that I find very frustrating when people just give me like very surface information. I want to understand what's actually occurring, right? So there are 4 sections, there are 4 variables that change within the program, the mapping we'll call that, when you go into these different modes. We'll talk about what all of the modes are here in a little bit and which part does what. But the first thing we're going to talk about is are the 4 categories that are changed. We'll start with the most benign of all of those things, and the one that is probably the most simple and one that everyone will immediately understand is the engine modes. It's either going to be set to normal or set to economy. Now, where that's valuable is when you're in an area where you don't want too much throttle response. A good example would be maybe a wet road or a slippery trail or that sort of thing, to where you just don't want to grab that throttle and start spinning and sling and mess up, and then there you have a problem. Now in rally mode it would be different, right? You would want more throttle because you want to be able to sling that rear end around a little bit. And when you're on road and you're doing a sportier type of riding, you're going to want more throttle response. So there's a couple of portraits of what that looks like and what that does. So the first variable is going to be the engine performance itself. It's either going to be normal or economy. So the next thing that only is going to have 2 variables in it, but they're dramatically different, is VSS, or your vehicle stability system. There's a lot in this machine that leads to your stability. There's anti-tip, there's traction control, there's hill assist. There's all these things that are going on in here that you're not aware of, but they're there and they're doing their work. They're doing a magnificent job when you're riding on the road. So that VSS also will include, your anti-brakes is kind of a part of that whole idea of how you stop, how you accelerate, how you turn, all of that stuff. Your ABS is not going to be considered a part of VSS because your ABS is never ever altered. Some people that are off-road guys will say that's not a good thing, that's a bad thing. I'm going to say it's neither a good or a bad thing, it just is a thing. So your VSS, your vehicle stability system, is either on or it is limited. It is never ever off, never. Even in rally mode, it is not off. In fact, in rally mode, that's the only time it's limited. So let's talk a little bit about that stability system. Again, it's traction control. When you crack that throttle, it will actually decrease the power to the back tire if it feels that tire breaking loose and it feels that it's going to put you in a precarious situation. It's not going to be like some sort of major chop of the throttle, but you'll feel it. You'll definitely feel it. So also in this limited mode, it dials back. You still have anti-tip, but it's going to allow more body roll, because when you're out on a dirt road and you're slinging this thing from side to side, you want a little bit of body roll. You just do. You're still going to have hill assist. It's just not going to be as dramatic. Traction control is turned almost all the way off, because you can loosely spin that tire and you could really go crazy with it. So again, the VSS is either on or it's limited. You cannot adjust the amount of limit that it has or the amount of radical nature that it will have. It is either one of two choices, on or limited, and that's it. Had a friend of mine stop. He waved me down and wanted to chat for a minute. He hadn't seen the canyon. He wanted to look at it. So I stopped on the side of the road and chatted for a few minutes. All right, so the third thing we're going to talk about is DPS, Dynamic Power Steering. Dynamic Power Steering. Now, this is something that's completely new in the Can-Am world. So what does that even mean, dynamic power steering? Well, what it is if you were taught to talk about, say, the Spyder, for example, the traditional Can-Am Spyder, you would always have maximal power steering. It is all the way up. That would be like compared to a modern day SUV for those who aren't in the know, right? It's smooth, it's completely, it would be heavy, it would be maximum power steering. That would be maximum power steering. You have all of the assistance required that you could steer this thing literally with one finger. No, I'm not suggesting you drive with one finger for the dummy that will leave a comment down there below. He's telling you to drive with one finger. No, I'm not. I'm telling you that the steering is extremely light and extremely sensitive. So therefore, dynamic power steering in maximum mode is going to give you the maximum amount of power assist. A medium would be like a sports car. It would give you a little bit of assist, but you're going to have a little heavier feel under your hand, meaning that the Spyder would be less twitchy, and it would take an effort to turn those two front wheels. And then there's DPS minimal. Now, minimal would be maybe not completely off, but most of the way off. And you can see where this is extremely valuable in an off-road scenario. You want less power steering when you're off-road. You don't want you don't want getting bump steer and that sort of stuff. So you want maximal feel between the tire and your hand so that you can respond accordingly. So there are three variables under the dynamic power steering, or we call it DPS. That would be DPS maximum, DPS medium, and DPS minimum. So there you go. That is the third category that is going to be adjusted in your riding modes. All right, so the fourth thing that has changed as you're going through those riding modes is this one. You're going to love this. It's the Sports Shocks Suspension mode. Sports Shock Suspension. Say that fast 3 times. But before we talk about that mode, do me a favor, give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Enough of all that, but I appreciate it. So the Sports Shock Suspension mode, well, what does that even do? What does that even mean? Well, it's dampening. Now, I know you're going, dampening? Dampening is what you do to a rag when you want it a little wetter when you're cleaning the kitchen table. No, not really. What it is the amount of compression. So that would be the amount that the wheel can come up, right? So when you go over a bump, if it's set to a soft mode, the compression will be very light, and so it doesn't take much to get that wheel to lift over it. Other than compression is this, rebound. Now, rebound is the amount of time that it takes for that wheel to press down, right? So if it's set to soft with minimal rebound, then it's going to be a nice, smooth, flowing, yeah, it's like doing Tai Chi or yoga. It's smooth. It's not Taekwondo. All right. So when would a comfort mode, which has the least compression and the least rebound, what would that be good for? Is the road. It's good for all roads. Go figure. It's good for just that cruising, driving, normal riding behavior. That's what the Can-Am RT and the Sea to Sky and the F3 If you were to compare anything, it would just be the normal riding mode. That's what it would feel like. It would just be normal. You go over a bump on the interstate, it's fine, it's smooth, it's not rough, it's not coarse at all. And then you have a middle ground, which gives you more compression and more rebound. So that more compression is going to make it a little harder to lift that tire, and when it does, it's going to press down more quickly. Well, what that means, you're going to feel the bumps a little more. But the upside is that you have incredible traction. It gets better. So the middle ground is going to be that sport. It's going to minimize, I understand this, minimize body roll, you know, when you're making that turn left, right. It's going to minimize the Spyder or the Canyon dipping in that turn, the body part of it. It's going to minimize dive when you hit the brakes hard. It's going to minimize squat when you're accelerating out. It's going to minimize all of that because it's a sport suspension. And then there's Sport Plus. Now Sport Plus is going to be more of it's going to be an on-road only maximum, absolute maximum compression, maximum rebound that this particular vehicle is set up for. And so what that means is that it's going to even be less body roll. It's not going to minimize it. It's going to virtually do away with it. And it's going to be super duper stiff. And when you go around a curve or a turn, it is not going to dip. It's not. And when you slam on brakes, it's not going to dive. I mean, this thing is planted. It's like driving a Porsche. That's what it feels like. It is just planted in the turns. It is unbelievable when you are in a more sporty road mode that Sport Plus suspension can do so much. It really is quite dramatic. So those are the three variables in the Sport Shock suspension mode. All right, so now let's talk about the rider modes. All right, so we are in a dirt environment and we're going to go to vehicle mode right here. All right, so in rally mode, let's look at this. Engine is normal, suspension is set to sport, dynamic power steering to minimal, and rally, which means that the VSS is minimized. So now that we've done that, we're just going to hit OK. We are in that mode now, and we're just going to go to it. All right. So the impact, so I can tell you the steering feels way stiffer. It's not uncontrollable, but it's stiffer, right? The engine mode is in normal because we want, for rally mode, we want to be able to get on that throttle and play a little bit, right? So we definitely want that. We're in a sport mode. Now, as far as the suspension, would Sport Plus be better? No, because it would be so stiff out here, it would shake your fillings out of your teeth. So Sport will give you enough traction in the rally mode to give you what you need, while not being too cushioned like the on-road type setting will do. And then of course the VSS, you know, where it is lightening up your anti-tip, it's lightening up your traction control, it's lightening all that up because, as I'll show you here, because we want to be able to sling that rear end around, fishtail with our, grab the tank with your hips, and you can literally sling that thing backwards and forwards. Big heavy washboard there, as you can hear. I mean, it's like super rough out here. This road here, I know that the cameras always flatten out hills and all that stuff. It has a nice crown. It's up and down. It's loose. It's gravel. It's dirt. It's sand. A lot of sugar sand. Man, that is a beautiful house, isn't it? So you can take this thing and you can sling this baby all the way around, like that, fishtail her around. You're looking where you're going, and there you are. So rally mode is really nice, but that's what it does to it. That's the changes that it's making, or those 4 specific changes, and that's the feeling. That's the feeling you get. So there's rally mode broken down, showing you exactly what it does. All right, so now we're going to look at sport mode. So your engine setting is going to be in normal. Your suspension is going to be Sport Plus. It's going to be the stiffest suspension setting that you have. Maximum control in that compression and rebound. It's going to be quick. It's not going to be the slow moving. It's going to be a heavy compression and rebound. Your dynamic power steering, as you can see here, is medium because you want more of that feel for the road. And we are on a normal VSS mode, which means we're going to have all of the vehicle stability stuff that you want. I'm going to go back to our statistics. So now if I spin the wheel on this thing, it'll do it a little bit, but not like it will in rally mode. Rally mode is a beast, let me tell you. All right, can I feel that? I'm going to tell you, I'm rocking this thing. It is super stiff. So I've got a little curve coming up here. Make sure my visor's all the way down. It's a windy day. It's clear and beautiful, but it's windy. So I'm not going to get like dangerous crazy around this curve, but I mean, this thing is like super duper stiff. It is going to be super sporty around these turns. I would say if you were on the tail of the dragon or you're riding aggressively on roads that are winding and up and down, this is the mode. It is a wonderful mode. It feels super solid and planted. It is not going to be as plush as the other settings. It's going to be stiff. It's a stiff. But here we are, and I'm not going to burn through this turn. I'm going to get enough to where we could feel the dive if we wanted to. All right, so here we go. I'm going to tell you there is virtually zero body roll on that. I'm going to tell you I took that corner faster on this than I did the Riker Rally or any of the Can-Am RTs, including the Sea to Sky. This thing, the handling is quite precise. It feels like rack and pinion steering in an old sports car is what that's the only way I can liken it to you if you ever felt that. It's very confidence inspiring in the turn. So that would be your sport mode. Again, the idea is for you to understand these modes and what it actually does, not just to, oh, well, that's sport and it's sportier. That's dumb. I hate when people give me answers like that. So I'm not gonna be dumb and do the same thing for you. So let's go to normal. Normal would be where you most of the time are. You can see your throttle is set to eco. Your suspension is set to comfort, so it's going to be plush. Your dynamic power steering is set to maximum, so it's very light now. And your VSS is in normal. So there we go. We're there now. So let's come out of that. We'll go to our gauges again. So this is normal. I can tell you that just spinning out of that dirt, it's a little more controlled. That suspension is super nice and plush now. The dive, if you were to look at me, I'm moving this thing freely now compared to that Sport Plus mode. That Sport Plus mode is super stiff. I mean, it's it is truly a sport mode. All right. So how does the normal feel as far as throttle response? You're in eco mode, so you're obviously not cracking the throttle and burning down any houses. But you still have the same top speed, you still have the same horsepower. Your fuel delivery is what's changed. But if I were to go around a curve at a high speed, and I have some right up here, it would feel less confidence inspiring. It will still feel as good as the Spyder feels, because the Spyder suspension is somewhat set up this way, although this is a far superior suspension. I don't even want to get into all that yet, but the suspension on this thing is absolutely mind-blowing, just mind-blowing. All right, so that's what normal feels like. So is there anything else? There is, but I can see that when I hit the brakes, there's way more front-end dive with this softer setting. You may not be able to see it, but man, I can see it and feel it. It is very significant. All right, so let's go into that last mode. We'll pull right over here. And when I say the last mode, it's the last preset mode. All right, we'll go to the vehicle. Here's the modes. We're going to go to all road. All road economy on the engine, it's going to be comfort soft, and it's going to be minimal DPS. So the steering is going to feel more stiff, and it's going to be normal on the VSS mode. That's all road, and that's assuming that you are going to, because when it says all road, it literally means all roads. So let's talk about what that even means. All roads. It could be a dirt road. It could be, you know, a double track that's not super aggressive, that you don't want to go into rally mode. You don't want to go crazy. You just want to ride the trail. All road is perfect. It gives you this nice plush suspension. You're riding slowly. That suspension can articulate nice and easily. But if you're going to be ripping around the turns, you're going to want to be in sport mode. And if you're going to be tearing it up on the dirt, you definitely want to be in rally mode. But all road is made for when you have a day where you're just hopping on and off in different surfaces and all that. Your normal mode would just be, you know, a normal day. You're going to be on road all day. You're going to be on pavement all day. You're setting the cruise control. You're on the interstate. You want to be in the normal mode. But if you're going to be changing surfaces, you want it to be in the all road. So there you have your 4 presets, your factory presets for your mapping for the rider modes. So what about the 5th one? The 5th one is going to be something that you set up on your own. Now, I set mine up as a rain mode. So I know that tomorrow I'm leaving for Panama City and it is supposed to rain. So I want the wheels more planted, but I want to feel it. I want to be able to steer this thing rock solid. I don't want maximum throttle control because it's going to be wet. And I absolutely want the vehicle stability system wide open. So I come here, I go to vehicle, and I come down here to custom, and that's exactly what I've done. I've got the engine in eco. I've got the suspension set to sport, not sport plus. I want it firm, but I don't want it crazy. I've got the maximal power steering, I've got the maximum dynamic power steering, and then I've got the normal on the VSS. So that's my rain mode. That's the one that I set up. Now I'm going to go back to normal right here. We're just going to ride. So there's all of the rider modes. One of the things I wanted to mention, and I'm parked here. There's nothing behind me. Nothing's coming. So don't everybody go, look at that idiot. He's stopping in the road. All right, I want to show you something. All right, so there's a wire in the crevice to this peg right here under the bottom. And when it is up, it is telling the canyon there's not a rider back here. It doesn't have a weight sensor here. It's simply going by this wire. And when you lower it, it says there's a rider here. So what does that matter, and why does that matter? Well, it matters because it won't allow you to go into rally mode if that foot peg is down, because it's going to tell you that there's a rider up there. And I believe that it sets more stabilization in place, and you'll feel it when you're coming through a turn. If you have that peg down, you'll feel that throttle control being graduated. So I want you to understand, if that peg is down, it's a different ball game on this. Also, I want you to understand, although we've discussed this suspension, I want you to understand also that even within those modes, it is making minor adjustments based on camber, the rapid bump, the surface condition of the road, all of that things. They're all the time there's feedback going to this suspension. It is absolutely amazing, and this type of technology just didn't exist 10 years ago. You know, if you were to look at MotoGP, they have more buttons on the motorcycle than you could possibly imagine. They have launch control, they have squat, they have turn, they have all these different things that they're doing apart from just riding the motorcycle. They're pressing these buttons, making the suspension do all this stuff. It's hard to even believe they can do all that at such a high speed. If you were to look at like the very, very high-end Ducatis, the Panigale, really expensive stuff, you know, 240 horsepower motorcycles, you know, 200 miles an hour out of the box motorcycle, they have mapping that you can't even imagine. you could gradually decrease engine braking. You can increase this and decrease that. It really is amazing. Now, all of that comes at a price, not only financially, but in dependability. I think that Can-Am has struck the perfect balance. They've given you enough control to where you can have usable modes that actually work. Because I've taken them out into the woods and I've done the bouncing up and down the roads, and it's a lot of fun. And I've been on the road and I've tested these things in cornering conditions, and the modes are functional. You can actually feel a difference. It's not just eye candy. It's not just a sales pitch. It's not just some bullcrap hype. It really does do something. So if or when you get a Canyon, now you understand the riding modes and the personal mode that you can program on the Canyon, not on the other models, but on the Canyon. You can have a user mode of your own, and you can set it up for a rain mode. And that's what I did. It's very, very simple. All of this stuff is very, very easy. But just because it's simple for us doesn't mean that it is not extremely complex internally, because trust me, it is. It's very, very complex. All right. Well, there you have it. Everything you need to know about the riding modes of the Can-Am Canyon. It's quite magnificent. Thank you for coming along, and I hope you learned a lot. Because I know that I did when I was doing the research on this, and when I was out riding it. It was just really cool to feel the difference. So I want you to do me a favor. Yes, you go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are most definitely doing it wrong. Now you go seize the day, and I will see you on the road real soon. Hoop de hoop. Get up there in some ride mode and do my thing.